Hi everyone, this is Mike again, and we're going to talk about the third part of advanced layers, and that is working with adjustment layers. I love working with adjustment layers because it adds another level of flexibility when I'm working with layers. Adjustment layers allows us to experiment with color, apply tonal adjustments to the image, fill in layers with other colors, and the best thing about it is these changes are not permanent. They're non-destructive. The key is to anything when we're working with this is to be non-destructive. And with adjustment layers, I can go in and experiment with my image or with parts of my layer if I wanted to and make adjustments without actually permanently adjusting, like for example this flower that I have in front of me. So adjustment layers allows me to just add color, add, adjustments to the tonal range if I wanted to. But again, all those adjustments are applied to a layer that's placed right above it. So let's take a look at this flower. And what we're going to do is we're just going to experiment here and to basically just bring out some more of the color within this image. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to work with the color balance adjustment layer. The color balance adjustment layer allows you to go in and change certain elements of the color. So if you want to add more yellow, you can add more yellow. You can add more magenta if you need to. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. I want to click on Color Balance. Now look at all the other different adjustments you have that you can apply to. Now I'm going to click OK. You can give it a name if you want to, because a lot of times if you have a lot of adjustments in your images, you might want to name it such as flower, color balance, or give it a little more detailed name. I'm going to click OK here. This opens up the color balance dialog box, and you can experiment with different colors. For example, maybe I'll add a little more red. Maybe I'll just a tad a little more green because there's green in the background there. And I'm going to add a little more yellow, and I'm just dragging it toward the yellow part. Let me uncheck the preview. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, I click OK. Now what happens is it adds the adjustment on the layer right above it. This is non-destructive because it did not apply it to the background. Let me hide the adjustment. See, the background's still there. The original image, part of the image, is there. Now this tells me that it's color balance, and this tells me that adjustment has been applied. This thumbnail here. Anytime you add a adjustment layer, it also goes in and adds a layer mask. And in the first part, we determined a layer mask helps us to hide and reveal what's on a layer. When you use a layer mask within an adjustment layer, you're basically telling it to apply or not apply the effect to that area. So since it's all white, the mask itself, it's applying the color balance to the whole image. I can tell it to only apply to the flower if I wanted to. I can tell it to apply just the the top portion if I wanted to. More on that to come. Let's take a look at this little paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this in another collage. I'm going to bring it over so it has a nice little texture, but it doesn't fit my color scheme. It doesn't fit the color scheme at all. I want it to be in purple. I want it to have a purple look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an adjustment layer that will have and make that change on the color real quickly. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and I'm going to choose, in this case I'm going to do Hue and Saturation because I want to change the physical hue, the color. I'm going to click OK. Let me move this down here at the bottom. So you can adjust the hue accordingly. And notice how I can get any color I want. I can also adjust the saturation of it. I can adjust the brightness of it. What's really nice about this, let me click OK, is that you did not physically change the base layer here where it's layer 1. Let me look at this. It's still the original yellow. The adjustment is applied to the hue and saturation. Now your boss comes to you and says, you know what, that's just not the right color. Well, that's very easy to go in and make the change. Since it's an adjustment layer, all you have to do is click on the first thumbnail, double click. This opens up the hue and saturation dialog box, and you can make your change accordingly. Same thing back here with this sunflower. I double click on the first thumbnail, which controls the adjustment. It opens up the color balance. Let's add a little more green. Take down the yellow. You can go back and make any adjustments to the adjustment layer. That's a big benefit, because if you don't and you apply the adjustment to the actual image, you can't now do that. So we want to go in and start concentrating on adding, when you have to make an adjustment like change the color of someone's shirt, change the color of someone's hair, change the color of something like the note here, the paper, then you want to make sure you're using an adjustment layer. If you want to go in and change the brightness and contrast of the image, then I'm going to use the levels command to make the adjustments to it. So again, adjustment layers are very beneficial to you when you're making adjustments. So let's take a look at the previous images that we worked with. Now I'm going to have and apply adjustment layer to just the sunflower and just to the leaves that we have here in the middle. I don't want it to apply to the snow scene. I don't want to apply it to the tulips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to layer, new adjustment layer, and let's just go in and let's just do the color balance for right now. I'm going to add a little more red, a little more magenta, a little more yellow. When I click OK, did you notice what happened? Did it affect just the leaves or sunflower? Let me hide that adjustment layer. It affects the tulips and it affected the snow scene, it affected everything. When you work with an adjustment layer, the adjustment layer where it's placed happened to be placed at the very top layer. Well, what happens here is that the adjustment layer applies to every layer below it, no matter where it is. So in this case, it doesn't affect the leaves or sunflower. It affects the tulips in the background as well. So if you only want to affect the leaves or the sunflower, you have to remember from the second part of our video clips is to apply a clipping mask so it becomes part of this clipping group of the leaves and sunflower. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my Alt key, I'm going to click right between color balance and leaves. It automatically tells it to apply it to this clipping group. So in this case, if I hide this, you can see the adjustment just only being made to the sunflower and the leaves, not the snow scene and the tulips. So in this case, just remember this: if you're going to go in and have it only affect a certain part, then most likely you're going to have to create a clipping mask. By creating a clipping mask, you can force it to affect only the layers that are within that group. This definitely can be very helpful when you're working and you want to adjust a group of layers or just a single layer. Also remember, where you place that adjustment layer within the clipping group, it will have its effect as well. If I bring the color balance layer right below leaves, it's only going to affect the sunflower, not the leaves within our clipping group. So by placing it into a different position, it's only going to affect the layers right below it. If I don't like what I did there, I can also go back in, double click. I can make a more of an adjustment if I want to. Now if I wanted to, I can also go back in and create another adjustment layer so it only affects the leaves. And in this case, I've been telling you to go up to layer, new adjustment layer. On your layers palette, you do have options for your adjustment layers down here where this little circle is. You can click on it and choose the same options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brighten up the leaves by going to levels. Now, just bring this slider in just to brighten it up just a hair, this white slider, and I click OK. As you've seen here though, it's affecting every layer below it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip it so it affects our clipping groups. So again, all we're seeing here is that we want to go in and apply that clipping mask where you want to. Now, when I did this, I clipped this levels to the clipping mask. Is it affecting just the leaves? No, it's also affecting the sunflower as well. If you only want to affect the leaves, you can actually create another clipping mask. All you have to do is come right here in between levels 1 and leaves, hold down your Alt key, click. Oh, I take that back. I apologize. I forgot to made some changes there. If I was going to have it affect the leaves itself, I would actually have to probably have a separate setting here. And so it's not part of the clipping mask with the sunflower and the base layer. So I would have to actually have a couple what we call maybe layer groups outside that. So now in this, we're just looking at how to create a adjustment layer and what we can use it for. I use adjustment layers all the time. You can go in and use it for adjusting the brightness, contrast. As you see here, and curves is also adjusting the brightness, contrast. You can work with color, hue and saturation as well. So it's a nice little feature that you can work with, and the key about this adjustment layers is that it's non-destructive. That's the key, non-destructive.